What's up, Campus Live fans, and welcome to the Attorney Stephen Hamilton pregame live show out here at GolfSuites in beautiful Lubbock, Texas. My name's Lane. I got Jett here today with me. Jett, how are you doing on this wonderful Sunday?
Doing great, man. Ready for the Super Bowl, ready for some Tech basketball. It's going to be great.
Awesome. And once again, our live show today is powered by, of course, Attorney Stephen Hamilton. But we also wanted to thank our sponsors with Roofmaster, JSI Services, Paint Doctor, and the Exceptional Community Hospital for their proud support of Campus Live and the pregame live show, as well as thanking our hosts today with GolfSuites for their continued support of being our host for every single pregame live show out here. And fans, if you want to come out and watch the Red Raiders and then stay for the Super Bowl later on today, make sure to come out to GolfSuites. There's a ton of great food and drink deals all day long. Of course, you got the beautiful golf range right behind us as well. It's going to be an amazing sports day. And Jett, I think we can kind of kick things off here. First, starting off with Kansas and a UCF recap.
Yeah, man.
What'd you think, Jett? Really, this was last weekend. It was a little bit long ago. Our last road game before this Kansas game. What'd you think about the UCF game, Jett?
The UCF game was tough. I felt like it was, I don't know, we've played from behind definitely, but I guess for the last recent games, I felt it was pretty odd for us to play behind like that and just, we were down one with not too long, left, and then UCF just kind of, made a couple big shots and got some big stops. So that was kind of a punch in the gut for us, riding that big hot streak after those big wins.
Yeah, UCF, they really killed us on the glass. Our defensive effort, I thought it was really poor, and then we had a bunch of late turnovers that were really uncharacteristic, and we had ourselves in a lot of foul trouble too. Yeah. UCF shot a bunch of free throws, and me and Logan had reiterated before the game really how underrated UCF is and how underrated Themis Folks is, maybe the most underrated guard in the whole entire Big 12, and it showed in a big way. He had 21 points and 7 assists, and then John Bull's little brother,
yeah.
He had an amazing game. He had a double-double in that game, and he honestly kind of really dominated JT inside and Luke Bigboye inside.
Some serious size.
Yeah, and then Jordan Burks also on the offensive end. He was in double digits, having 17 points. They're a really high-powered offensive team, and they also ended up out-rebounding us by 12, Jett. It was really unfortunate to see because now after we know we lost this Kansas game at home, that's one that you really want back, Jett.
Oh, yeah. Because when games like that, it's going to matter in the standings. And I know after, the Kansas game wouldn't have been so bad, but because we lost UCF, we dropped, I think, to like 5th or 6th in the standings in the Big 12. So, and the way Arizona's playing, I don't know how many they're going to, if they do lose, I don't know how many they're going to lose. So it's not looking too good right now for our chances of taking, the top spot in the Big 12. But, I really would have loved to have that win over UCF. But their crowd was jumping, and they were just – They were taking the momentum back from us every chance that they would get. So maybe it was just their day,
Yeah, they got a lot of good bounces for them. There was some really weird plays that happened, and then all of a sudden, somehow the ball would just wind up back in UCF's hands. But unfortunately, we lost that game, and then this past Monday, lost a heartbreaker to Kansas at home, up by as much as 10 points in the second half. First off, though, Christian Anderson, of course, missed the game due to an illness before the game, about 15 minutes before tip-off, according to Coach McCaslin. He said they really had no plan really going into this game. They had got blindsided by it. They thought Christian Anderson obviously was going to play. And you really saw that our offense struggled in the first half. We were down by 3 points at halftime. Kansas was up 32-29, and Darren Peterson led all scorers in that first half with 11 points early on in the game. Texas Tech had some early contributions. Lawan Watts, he had 10 points in that first half, really was our best offensive player, best all-around player in that game, had a double-double. It was such a tough physical game. It kind of reminded me of the Houston game earlier on this year. Unfortunately, we didn't have Christian in this game, and I think if he would have played, we definitely would have won the game. Just having more of an offensive threat all over the floor. Our shooting wasn't that good, obviously, during the game as well. Jett, what was kind of some of your thoughts initially after this Kansas game?
First off, without Christian, you could just tell the impact that it had on JT. You know, that's his partner in crime right there. And because I think at halftime, I think JT only had like 4 points, something like that. So they were, you know, something was not right there during that, you know, that stretch. And Lawan was really just having to kind of carry, you know, with some big shots by other, you know, contributors. But yeah, you could really see the, you know, C4 and JT, they just, you know, they have a chemistry. And without one, it definitely impacts the other.
Yeah, it was great to see Jalen Petty, though, as the main ball handler.
He did well.
He did. Yeah. He had a very good game. He actually, I mean, if he would have had a few more assists, rebounds, he would have had a triple-double in the game. So he had a really good game, had about 13, 7, and 7 in the game. So for the guy that's more than likely going to be the point guard for next year, it's great to see that he has that in his belt, and the fact that he was able to kind of be the engine that led our offense. It was good to see, even though obviously not nearly as efficient when Christian Anderson is the lead assist guy. But obviously, like I said earlier, up 10 points. We even saw a huge three from Jazz Henderson, the walk-on coming in, hitting a huge three. Donovan Atwell hit some big shots in the second half. It kind of seemed like we were about to run away with this game, Jett, with about 8 minutes remaining, and then we went absolutely cold. Went on a 14-2 stretch in Kansas's favor down the way, and of course led by Darren Peterson, Jett.
Yeah, and I know, you know, some people may like to say that like Tech for some reason can't like finish games, but like I beg to differ, because there's been a lot of games where we've played from behind in situations like that, and we've outplayed the other team in the last like 10 minutes, and for some reason these last 10 minutes of both of these, you know, UCF and Kansas, we kind of got outplayed, you know. And I wouldn't say the last 10 minutes even for the Kansas game, maybe the last like,
what, 30 seconds?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. It would just be good to see today, you know, Tech, you know, close out strong.
Yeah, and really what you saw in the end of that game, obviously Darren Peterson, the best player in the whole entire country, projected #1 overall pick, hits those two massive three-pointers, one to tie the game and then obviously one to take the lead. But, you know, if I thought about this after the game, if Christian Anderson would have been in the game, Tyree Bryant had about 2 chances, wide open shots to tie the game, and if he would have tied the game, it would have been to take the lead in the game. Wide open, missed those shots. You have to think, if Christian Anderson is playing in that game, that potentially could have been him or Jalen Petty taking those shots. And unfortunately for Tyree Bryant, he missed both of those shots. And then obviously Donovan Atwell had really 2 difficult shots at the end of that game that he took that, honestly, I don't know if anyone could have made. Those were extremely difficult.
And the last one was like a prayer, and it still almost went in.
Yeah.
Like, it was pretty close.
And, you know, unfortunately, Tech did lose. And obviously, really who I wanted to shout out for Kansas was Flory Badunga. His defensive effort on JT Toppin in the game. You're starting to see the emergence, really, of this Kansas team. We talked about it really throughout the weekend leading up to that game, how good Kansas has been basically over the past 2 or 3 weeks, getting Darren Peterson fully healthy, and then Flory Badunga, Melvin Council Jr. They have arguably the most talented starting 5 in all of college basketball right now, and they will be ranked in the top 10 next week, as they have won 6 games in a row, or actually 7 games in a row now, after they beat Utah this past Saturday or yesterday. And, man, the job that he did on JT was only 5 of 18 in the game, only ended up with about 10 points in the game, and Flory Badunga had 14 points and 9 rebounds, had a bunch of blocks. He did a great job on JT, Jett.
Yeah, he really did. And like I was saying earlier, it's just not what you see out of JT Toppin, and they were doing something right during that game, because he was definitely hindered.
Yeah, and I think that as we continue throughout this Big 12 season, as we get closer to the Big 12 race, I think that you are going to see Kansas shoot up the ranks as far as the bracketology rankings go. I think that they easily could be a team you see in the Final Four at the end of the year. But for a team that started off 11-5, now the way that they are 18-5 now, just speaks to the level of the Big 12. I mean, it is insane. We have the #1 team in the country, Arizona, 23-0. Houston, obviously, they had a huge win last night at BYU. You got, obviously, Texas Tech. You got Kansas, Iowa State in the top 5 as well. Yeah. Obviously, you know, BYU, they've lost 4 games in a row.
I'm about to start getting suspect to BYU, you know, if they don't win a big game here soon.
You know, it's really interesting about BYU. If AJ, obviously, he's had 2 really good games back-to-back. But if Richie Saunders and if Rob Wright if they really aren't combining for about 65 to 70 points, BYU is going to lose.
They're going to lose, yeah.
And I think that having a top-heavy team like that, I think that could spell some trouble for them in March Madness.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see how that goes. But as we head to West Virginia today, this is a game that we absolutely need. We've lost 2 games in a row. And you got any final thoughts on our previous 2 games, Jett?
No, just put them behind us, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, thank you, fans, for coming out and supporting us. And if you want some of the best drink and food game day deals in town, make sure to come out to GolfSuites here for the Attorney Stephen Hamilton pregame live show on campus live. And if you're watching online, stay tuned for part 2 as we're going to be discussing all things Texas Tech right after this short break. Wreck 'em. What's up, Campus Live fans, and welcome back to the Attorney Stephen Hamilton pregame live show, live here from GolfSuites here in beautiful Lubbock, Texas. Feels great outside today, fans. Make sure to come out to GolfSuites, come watch our live show, stay for the Texas Tech game, get some golf in, get some food and drink deals in, and then obviously the Super Bowl is going to be kicking off later tonight. But first, we also wanted to thank our other sponsors with Roofmaster, JSI Services, Paint Doctor, and the Exceptional Community Hospital for their proud support of Campus Live. And of course, once again, thanking GolfSuites for their continued support of being our host for the Campus Live pregame sports show. And fans, once again, if you want to come out, watch the Red Raiders and the Super Bowl, come out to GolfSuites. There's going to be a ton of great food and drink deals all day long. Jett, we're going to be talking all things Texas Tech in this segment. Why don't you go ahead and kick us off? How have we played, obviously, this season and then recently in these past two games?
We've been a streaky team, I'd say. We start off the season with a tough non-conference schedule, lose a few of those, kind of feel iffy about ourselves going to conference play, win the ones we're supposed to, play Houston tough. Well, we finish off, the non-conference with Duke. Big win right there. So I don't know. I feel like we've really I would say I'm positive about, the way we've started, things. The big wins, say a lot. And then you're always going to drop one or two in the Big 12, to teams that are probably not supposed to beat you. But I think right now, we just kind of got to get back on our feet and kind of find that hot streak that we were riding. Because I'd say maybe a week and a half ago, a lot of people were talking about us as the best team in the country. So, or as one of them at least, because there's Arizona. But yeah, what do you think, man?
Yeah, obviously 16-6, and like you said, Jett, losing those early non-conference games to teams like Purdue, Illinois, Arkansas. Obviously, Illinois now, I know, they lost in a really close one to Michigan State yesterday, but a top 5 team in the whole entire country. They are an amazing team, and they don't even have their starting point guard right now with Kylan Boswell. Obviously, losing to a team like Purdue, they went really far last year and returned every single one of their best players. Obviously, they are one of the best teams in the whole entire country. And Arkansas, too, they are on a hot streak right now as well. Yep. They have Darius Acuff, one of the best players in the whole entire country, as well with Trayvon Brazell. Any team with John Calipari leading the helm, they're going to be really talented. And then, you play some other teams as well, Beat Duke. Obviously, last night was their second loss of the year.
Yeah.
Their other loss was to us.
Yeah.
And so seeing that we have that much talent to beat a team like Duke, who is another top 5 team in the country as well, that just shows to the ceiling of this team. I think that some of these games we've been losing to UCF, even to Kansas, even though we didn't have Christian Anderson, that's kind of, you're seeing the floor of this team.
Yeah.
Whenever we are not hitting our ceiling, I think that the floor of this team is a little bit lower than last year's team. And I think the reason because of that, honestly, is because last year's team had played so much together that their floor was a lot higher, even though I would say this year's team is more talented on the offensive end. But they haven't played together nearly as long as those guys did last year and the year before. So that's why you see us kind of struggle in some of these games against a team like UCF. But today, I think it's really all about us. In this season, you lose 2 close ones like we've been talking about against Kansas and UCF. However, I think that getting Christian Anderson back in this game, alongside maybe that game, with LaJuan Watts kind of carrying the load offensively, kind of gets him back into that period where he had about a month of this year where he was playing really well. He's averaging about 17, 18 points per game. And then just adding that into the mix, guys like Donovan Outwell, he continues to be one of the best 3-point shooters in the country. And then Jalen Petty just continues to be amazing as we advance throughout this year, Jett.
Yeah, and I feel like, LaJuan's getting a lot of grief, but LaJuan's really been like kind of one of our sleeper saving graces, during this stretch. And then I feel like, if you go back to that Duke game, like the Duke game wasn't even one of the better games we played either, and we managed to tough that one out. And so I feel like in this game, you just want to see them come out and be angry, dominate the boards, get some steals, get some good defensive stops, and obviously, play well on the offensive side and get going. But I feel like the offense is going to be there. And you just want to see, like, how they say the toughest team wins. You want to see the toughness come out of this team today.
Yeah, I thought that you really saw that versus Kansas. I thought we were the better team for basically 59 minutes of that game.
Got drilled.
I thought we played great defense all day long. Darren Peterson, as great as he played, his final shooting percentage line was similar to Toppin. I think it was 5 of 18 or 5 of 13 or something like that. It's not like he shot a great game. He just is Darren Peterson, and he can make those late shots at the end of the
Selph
game.
said it too. He was like, he's got something that you're born with. You know, you can't teach it. You know, he didn't take any credit for that.
Yeah, and I think that might have taught our student section maybe a lesson not to say those chants at the potential #1 overall player in the country, because it came back to bite us in the end. You saw him shooting those free throws at halftime. He kind of had a smirk for a guy that doesn't let off a lot of emotion. He's kind of like Kobe in that way. You know, a lot of people are comparing him kind of to a baby Kobe mentality. You see a guy like that express some emotion like that, and then at the end of the game, he went and killed us, drove the knife right through our heart. But obviously today, this is a big bounce back opportunity. We need to get back on track. Still projected in most bracketologies for March Madness as a 4 seed, but you are starting to see some of those seeing us slip to a 5 seed. That's something you don't want to see at this part of the year. They really need a bounce back win today, especially with what I would say for the rest of this year is our easiest stretch of the season. We have 3 to 4 games against some of the lower teams in the Big 12. Really need to win this game today, Jett, against West Virginia. And what's kind of some of your thoughts as we head up to West Virginia as far as this matchup goes before our next segment?
West Virginia is going to be tough. Anytime you go to Morgantown, it's a tough environment. They're 13-1 on the road. They knocked off Kansas, so they're nothing to sneeze at for sure. And I think this is going to be a good test for us coming off of 2 losses to not just walk in and think you're going to get an easy win.
Absolutely. And fans, that'll kind of lead us into our injury report segment, sponsored by the Exceptional Community Hospital. Fans, it's time for this week's injury report, once again presented by the Exceptional Community Hospital. And we just want to thank them once again for being a proud sponsor of Campus Live. And be sure to visit their 24/7 state-of-the-art hospital and ER located at 6401 Spur 327 in Lubbock. They accept all insurances and have short ER wait times. Once again, the Exceptional Community Hospital is a proud sponsor of the attorney Stephen Hamilton pregame live show out here at GolfSuites. Kind of a surprise, obviously, with Christian Anderson missing the Kansas game. He will be back. It was just a little illness. But it did surprise a lot of us to see Nolan Groves pop up on the injury report yesterday for Texas Tech. This is a guy, he kind of plays in spurts. He'll play, 10 minutes one game, and then he won't play for 2 or 3 games. Kind of maybe a redshirt type of season, kind of just getting him used to Big 12 basketball. But Nolan's extremely talented and a guy that we potentially could need down the stretch if there was some other injuries. God forbid if Christian actually did get hurt. So seeing Nolan get hurt with an injury, we're not really sure what it is. What's kind of some of your thoughts on seeing him pop up on the injury report, Jett?
I mean, we go back again to the Duke game. He had kind of a legacy game in the Duke game, whenever we were very undermanned. So he's a key piece, even though you don't see him on the floor all the time. He's pivotal in kind of, relieving some of the pressure.
Yeah, and he's a guy that, like Jett said, against Duke, he basically guarded Cam Boozer that whole entire second half when LaJuan Watts was in foul trouble, and then he did amazing. He rebounded extremely well. So we definitely will need him down the stretch just to have another body. You always want more bodies and guys that are able to play, and he's certainly on the defensive end is ready to play right now. For West Virginia, they only have one guy injured, Abraham Oyedier. He has been out all year long, though. He's only played 1 game. Kind of a guy that's similar to like Latrell Hoover. He's a redshirt. So really, West Virginia, they're fully healthy going into this game. That was a guy that's really wasn't seen as a contributor for them this year. So we should get West Virginia at their full strength. It's going to be a tough one today. But Jett, you got any more final thoughts on the injury report?
No, man, no. Not as extensive as it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see that. Unfortunately, Nolan going down with an injury sucks. But I mean, we are the healthiest we've been all year long. So. And thank you once again, fans, for coming out and supporting us. And then once again, if you want the best food and drink game day deals in town, make sure to come out to GolfSuites for the attorney Stephen Hamilton pregame live show on Campus Live. And also, if you want to stay after the Texas Tech game for the Super Bowl, that'll be kicking off at 5:30. And once again, if you're watching us online, stay tuned for part 3 as we're going to be touching on all things West Virginia. And as always, wreck 'em. What's up, Campus Live fans, and welcome back to the Attorney Stephen Hamilton pregame live show live here at GolfSuites in beautiful Lubbock, Texas. This show is powered by, of course, Attorney Stephen Hamilton, and of course, we wanted to thank our other sponsors with Roofmaster, JSI Services, Paint Doctor, and the Exceptional Community Hospital for their proud support of Campus Live, and as well, of course, thanking GolfSuites for their continued support of being the host of our live pregame shows. And of course, fans, if you want to come out, there's some great food and drink deals. Come watch the Texas Tech game. Stay as long as you want. Stay for the Super Bowl later on tonight. There's going to be a ton of great deals for that game as well. Of course, they got their beautiful golf range in the back too. So make sure to come out to GolfSuites. And yeah, it should be a great sports day, Jett.
Oh yeah.
And of course, fans, this is going to be our next segment. We're going to be talking all things West Virginia, led by Coach Ross Hodge, who actually is one of Coach McCaslin's best friends. They coached at the University of North Texas for about 6 seasons. And Coach Hodge got this job, and they really play exactly like Coach McCaslin's teams used to at North Texas. They play really slow. They play some of the best defense in the whole entire country. Not the best offense, not the most efficient offense. And you see that with this West Virginia team. They're 15-8. Now they're 6-4 in the Big 12. And they have been playing some of their best basketball as of recently. They went on the road and beat a talented Cincinnati team this past week. And their defense, they're 33rd in the whole entire country, one of the best in the Big 12. But their offense is ranked in the 130s, really kind of led by 1 to 2 players in Hunter Huff and Trayson Eaglestaff. Should be a really interesting game, and a game that could be, you know, a friendly affair with Coach McCaslin and Coach Hodge. Jett, what's kind of some of your initial thoughts on this West Virginia team?
Yeah, initially I was thinking the defense too. I think they only, what did you say? They only allow like 63 a game. So, you know, they can grind you down and they can make things competitive. They've got a big win against Kansas. They beat, you know, they're 6-4 like you said. So they've beaten some Big 12 teams, you know, 6 of them, which isn't easy. But yeah, I think their best bet is just to kind of slow this game down, try to get us to take some tougher shots, and then just see if they can, you know, make some big shots.
Yeah, they're absolutely going to want to slow us down today. This is a game, even though they beat Kansas, which that was a game, obviously, that Darren Peterson, he went out early in that game with an injury.
Yeah.
And he had 27 points in 23 minutes in that game. So, you know, if he would have stayed in that game, it could have been a little different. But, you know, West Virginia, take nothing away from them. They ended up winning that game by double digits, actually. So that was one of their highest scoring affairs of the whole entire season. So to see them play that way against a talented team like Kansas, which we just lost to.
They're very capable.
They're very capable. And in the Big 12, everyone's capable. And for a coach like Ross Hodge to be as close as he is with Grant McCaslin, he probably knows a lot of his tendencies. But on the other hand, Coach McCaslin might know his tendencies as well. But really kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of their team, Hunter Huff, he is a great player, averages about 16 points per game. He does shoot a lot, and his shooting percentages aren't the best. He's only shooting about 34% from 3 and about 44% from the field. But they do have also some other guys on their team as well, like Trayson Eaglestaff. He was one of the best players in the Summit League for North Dakota last year, averaged over 20 points per game. He's averaging about 11 points per game and 5 rebounds for North Dakota. Once again, as a team, not very efficient, Jett. They shoot kind of similarly to Hunter Huff, 44% from the field and about 35% from the 3. Once again, they play at a really slow pace. What they're going to want to do today to Texas Tech, obviously with Christian Anderson coming back, they are going to be very slow on the offensive end. They're going to want to try to be more efficient than normal and score points whenever they have the opportunities to hit those open shots, but then they're going to play very tough defense on our offense, Jett.
Yeah, and I feel like if they don't slow the game down, you know, and it's you know, it's a track meet, it's going to get away from them early. They've had games where it's gotten away from them, like, you know, when they played Houston and they just got boat raced. There's been a few other, I think BYU, you know, put it to them too. So I don't think they're going to want to be trading shots with Tech. They're going to want to, you know, like we keep saying, they're going to want to slow things down, force us to take tough shots, and then, you know, just kind of maybe hope some things, you know, bounce their way and then get that home crowd into it.
Yeah, I think that, you know, this is really a game for them after their big win over Kansas. If they do want to make a run to potentially sneak into the tournament late, this is a game that they absolutely need to win. Kind of in a similar way to UCF. UCF, they beat Kansas also. They were at home and we went on the road there. and they really put their whole entire program into winning that game. And now UCF, if they just win a couple more games, they're as sure of a lock as possible.
It's getting to that point of the season where, you know, you have a few games to do it, you know.
Absolutely.
And so if you're already at that 8 or 9 losses, you don't have a few, you know, too many more to lose.
Absolutely, and especially with kind of a weaker bubble this year, it kind of seems like the top half is really, really strong this year. I think that there potentially could be 25 teams that can make a run into the Elite Eight range of this tournament. I think there's 12 to 15 teams that could even go on to the national championship, because you're seeing it with this freshman class this year. This is arguably the best freshman class in the history of college basketball. I mean, you go even to pick 15, and you're talking about guys like Koa Pete, who's been one of the best players in the country this year, and a guy like Christian Anderson, too, one of the best players in the country as well. You are seeing this. It is such a talented group in college basketball this year. I think that West Virginia, if they win a game like this where they sneak into the end of this tournament, kind of a weaker bubble, like I said just a second ago, I think that this is a win that could catapult them over some of those bubble teams like a Texas or a University of Miami who really don't have 2 wins like a Kansas or a Texas Tech, Jett.
And on our side, you know, it would be a devastating loss if we you know, drop 3 straight right here. We would really need to lock in for the last, you know, stretch of the season if we drop this one and West Virginia, you know, ends up taking us out.
Yeah, this will absolutely be a topic of discussion whenever we actually predict this game. But just like Jett said, this is a game that Texas Tech, in my opinion, honestly has all the pressure on. After losing 2 straight, this is a game we absolutely have to have, especially if we win this game. There's a good chance that we head in to that Arizona game sitting at 18-6. Obviously, we need to be sitting at that, because that going into Arizona, they're the best team in the whole entire country this year.
Not a guaranteed win.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely not a guaranteed win. And for us to be sitting at March Madness to get potentially a top 4 seed, which is really where you want to sit to avoid those early round upsets against better teams that sit on the 12 or the 11 seed line, this is a game that you need to win. This is a game that we need to be sitting around 8 to 9 losses as we head into, the Big 12 championship tournament. So West Virginia, obviously, and Texas Tech, this is going to be a huge game. Texas Tech is only favored right now by 4.5 points. And Jett, you got anything more on West Virginia as we head closer into this game?
No, I don't.
Yeah. Fans, once again, thank you for coming out and supporting us. And if you want the best food and drink game day deals in town, make sure to come and join us at GolfSuites for the Attorney Stephen Hamilton pregame live show. And once again, if you're watching us online, stay tuned for our last segment. This is the fun segment. We're going to be doing a ton of fun predictions, not just for Texas Tech, but for the Super Bowl as well. And there's another good college basketball game today. So stay tuned. And as always, wreck 'em.
Wreck 'em.
What's up, Campus Live fans? And once again, welcome back to the Attorney Stephen Hamilton pregame live show, live here from beautiful GolfSuites in Lubbock, Texas. First, our live show today, once again, we just want to thank our sponsors, the Attorney Stephen Hamilton Law Group, and as well, we wanted to thank our sponsors with Roofmaster, JSI Services, Paint Doctor, and the Exceptional Community Hospital for their proud support of Campus Live. And once again, we just wanted to thank GolfSuites for their continued support of being the host of our Campus Live pregame sports shows out here at GolfSuites. And fans, if you want to come out to GolfSuites and watch the Red Raiders play and then stay for the Super Bowl later on today, make sure to come out. There's a ton of great food and drink deals, and as well as their amazing golf range too. Jett, first we're going to talk about really the other big college basketball game today first, Ohio State versus Michigan. We all know this is a big rivalry in football, obviously not as big in basketball, but Michigan does have one of the best teams in the country this year. They have the best defense in the country this year, according to many different metrics, including Ken Palm. They're a ginormous team. They're a very big team led by Yaxel Lindenberg, who all around is just an amazing player, averaging about 14, 7, and 4 with a block and a steal a game. But they have other guys like Marez Johnson, Elliot Cadeau. They have almost 7 guys averaging 10 points per game on this team, Jett. They're a really good team. What's kind of some of your thoughts on how Michigan has played this season?
I haven't seen a whole lot of Michigan this year, but from what you're telling me right now, it sounds like they're extremely deep. And like we said, the top of this AP poll is just it's nothing to play with. So I think they're solid and.
Yeah, should be a great game. This is a big rivalry. Obviously, like I said, not as big as football, but Ohio State, they do have Bruce Thornton, who is one of the best scorers in the whole entire country, averaging about 20 points per game. He's been there for a couple seasons, and he's been a really productive guy for Ohio State. They do have a really good offense. Ohio State, one of those bubble teams kind of mixed in there with Texas and UCLA, but they are very suspect on the defensive end. They rank about 75th to 85th, depending on whatever metric you look at. I think this is going to be a really high-scoring game today. It's going to be competitive maybe in the first half, but Michigan is just way too good of a team for Ohio State. I think they win this one 98-82, Jett.
Sweet, man. I think I'll stick with you, but I'll switch it up and keep it a little close. Maybe 85-75 for this one. Michigan.
A little bit closer, Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan, they're a very talented team. But obviously, the game today, everyone's going to be watching the most watched sporting event besides the World Cup of the whole entire year. The Super Bowl number 60 is today. I had previously, when we were on the podcast, I had picked the Rams to actually beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl before the playoffs started. I just felt, really, whoever wins that Seattle Rams NFC Championship game, I feel like it was kind of a collision course. They were the two best teams in the NFC this year, and whoever won that game, I thought would win the Super Bowl. And I think Seattle's defense versus a New England offense that's really struggled in the playoffs so far. And I know that they have played really tough defenses like Denver. They played the Chargers, obviously, and then Houston, obviously some of the best defenses in the National Football League. I think that Seattle, once again, one of the best defenses in the National Football League as well. I think Drake May does play a better game, Jett. I think he does play a better game, and I think that he obviously is the better quarterback, and I think they have the edge in this game for the championship game. But him and this offensive line, they have really struggled in the playoffs. And versus this amazing Seattle defense, I think their offense as well has a productive day with Sam Darnold. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba has a good day. I think Kenneth Walker has a good day. But my person to watch out for is Cooper Kupp. I think there's always a veteran in the Super Bowl that kind of pops off. I think he's that veteran that pops off in the game today. I think he makes some clutch plays in the end, maybe even wins Super Bowl MVP. Maybe makes a late touchdown in the end. I think it is a very competitive, low-scoring game, but give me Seattle over the Patriots 20-17 in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I like all of that. And I think the defense is the story, for both teams, really. Like you said, Drake May kind of struggling throughout the AFC playoffs, but against tough defenses. And then Sam Darnold kind of surprising everybody with the performance in the NFC Championship where he just went absolutely nuts, And I think people still sleep on Sam Darnold because of, the whole see and go situation and everything that happened in New York. But I think it's going to come down to whichever quarterback is just kind of, makes those plays early. I think early, because with the Super Bowl, it's such a manufactured game that, like, it's all about momentum,
Absolutely.
And then you take a long commercial break or, all these different breaks, and then the halftime. You want to grab that momentum early, or like even the way Philadelphia did it last year, where they just came out swinging, and took that game in the first half, and just totally sent them to the locker room for half an hour, just demoralized with 0 on the scoreboard. So I think someone needs to come out early. Drake May will have a better game. He's played some tough defenses, and they've had a couple weeks to prepare. So I think this is going to be a good one. I think the Patriots come out on top, 28-24, kind of like that old one 10 years ago. We're going to repeat that score.
Yeah. No, it's funny you brought up the momentum. That's why I think you see so many in these Super Bowl games. You see, like, comebacks so many times. You think of, obviously, the legendary comeback from the Patriots over the Falcons. They were down 28-3. Tom Brady leads that comeback. And that was such a game of momentum. Our producer, Jordan, in the back, he's a Falcons fan. He's shaking his head right now. Yeah, but thinking of games like that where the Patriots, they come back, I think of the Ravens and 49ers game as well. The Ravens had a huge lead in that game versus the 49ers, and
they almost came back.
And then the 49ers almost come back in that game too. I think it's just such a game of streaks. The Chiefs kind of did it recently too.
Yep.
And their 3 Super Bowls, they've came back in every single one of those to win. So
even with the last year where they got stomped, it was like kind of like the whole time you felt like something was going to happen, and it was pretty surprising that just nothing happened at all.
Because most of the time, really, besides last year, the only non-competitive Super Bowl I can think of was when Seattle actually, destroyed Denver whenever they had the Legion of Boom. Hopefully it's not a similar situation today. I don't think it will be. I think this is going to be a really competitive game. But Jett, he's got some extra picks for us today, and Jett's locks.
The Jett's locks of the day.
Yeah, some fun things, obviously, that you see that'll get wagered on during the Super Bowl. Jett, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
All right, so we already picked the Super Bowl. We got that out of the way. So, first off, Lane, I'm gonna come at you with a few different ones. So the first one I'm gonna ask you is heads or tails, Lane.
See, I think I know everyone always says tails never fails.
Yeah.
But give me heads.
Heads?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good because I was going to take tails, so we're going to see who wins that one right there. Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on. The national anthem, everyone's watching it. Everyone's locked in. Sometimes it runs a little long, Sometimes they get little extra breaths in there and stuff. So a minute 30. You think it's going over or under a minute 30 for the national anthem?
Man, I would have loved to know who's actually singing it today.
Who's singing the national anthem?
Who's singing the national anthem? Because I think it feels like it kind of depends on who sings it. But, I feel like in the Super Bowl they always try to make it extra. It's the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then whatever pyro they have and stuff like that.
Whatever they have. But give me the over. Why not?
Get you the over?
Yeah, let me just get the over.
I kind of like that one too. I feel like I'm gonna take the over. So that's Jett's lock number 2 for the day.
Charlie Puth. Oh, it's gonna be slow. It's good. It'll be.
We got it.
He'll be on his
That's
piano.
A lock.
He'll be.
It's honestly, just the piano alone. You can play that for 30 seconds. Okay, what was the third one we had? The third one, the color of the Gatorade. You never know what color that's gonna be. I was talking to Lane, a little while ago, and the Chiefs had a purple one a couple years ago. So you never know. They're not always gonna go with their team color, but I think there's like 6. What is there? Like 6 different options. So what do you think? What do you think?
I don't know.
What are you gonna do for both teams? Or are you just gonna base level,
base for the winner.
Okay,
that's really the only one you see.
That's all that matters.
We've seen in the last 2 years, I think we saw like purple. I think we saw red one year, maybe with the Chiefs or something.
Orange.
Give me blue today. I think blue is the color today. I think both teams kind of have a blue in their scheme. If I were to place some money on it, give me blue for the Gatorade color. Jett.
That's a solid pick. I'm thinking the other way. I'm going to go that lime, like that lime green, like the light green. I guess that would kind of lean if Seattle. I picked the Patriots, but that would kind of lean more of Seattle one, I feel like, because it's more with their color. But like I said, they don't always go with their color. So maybe the Patriots throw like a green Gatorade, shove it in the Seahawks' face, But all right, moving on. So, defensive touchtung.
You got one?
What do we think? I think there's going to be a defensive touchdown today.
I
think so. Adrenaline's going to be high. Questions about both offenses. There's talent on both sides, but I think something's going to happen, and there's going to be a score.
As good as both defenses are, too, 2 quarterbacks that are Drake doesn't throw a ton of turnovers, but in the playoffs, he has turned it over quite a bit. And Sam Darnold has led the NFL in turnovers the past 2 seasons. So I think it could be definitely a scenario where you see a defensive touchdown. And just like you just said, I'm going to completely agree. I say yes. I think there is going to be a defensive touchdown in this game. It seems like in these huge games, I mean, even looking back to the national championship, they had that block punt.
Yeah.
That was a touchdown in the game. It seems like there's always a weird touchdown in these championship games. I completely agree with you, Jett.
Sweet. Yeah, we're on the same page right there.
Got any more outlandish Super Bowl ones?
Last one of the day for Jett's Locks. We're going to do non-QB throwing a touchdown.
Ooh, okay.
What do we think about that one? We'll just say like point, any non-QB.
If I were to pick a non-QB to throw a touchdown, I would pick, I'm going to say Ramondre Stevenson.
Okay. Little double pass action right there. Sweet. I don't think a non-QB is going to throw a touchdown pass today. I don't know if we're going to see one of those Philly specials or anything like that today, sadly. But we're going to get the turnover touchdown. We're going to get that defensive touchdown, so it's fine. We're going to have some fun. Yeah. But yeah, that's it for Jett's Locks of the day. As always, gamble responsibly. And these are your locks of the day presented by Lane and Jett.
It should be a great game. Obviously, tune in at 5:30 for the kickoff. Last football game of the year, kind of sad. But obviously, as we move on to our game, we will be doing our Paving the Way to Victory segment. Fans, JSI Services is a proud partner of Campus Live, and be sure to visit their website at jsiservicesllc.com to learn about their asphalt/paving services, earth and dirt works, concrete and gutter paving, crack fill, seal coating, and stripping services. And once again, thank you to JSI Services for their proud support of Campus Live and the attorney Stephen Hamilton pregame live show on Campus Live. First, for Texas Tech in this game, I think it's finding our shooting touch from the three-point line again. We shot poorly versus Kansas and really against UCF as well. And then secondly, it's not letting West Virginia dictate the pace of the game, forcing them to turn the ball over with double teams or bad shots, speeding them up, and really keeping the pace in Texas Tech's favor so that we keep our offensive pace, really outgunning West Virginia's defense. And if that is the case, I think that we will outscore them in a big way, Jett.
Oh, yeah.
What's kind of some of your keys to victory in this game today?
Like we said, we're getting Christian back. We want to get some of that chemistry back flowing. Honestly, for me, I think it's getting JT back into one of his usual performances after what happened against Kansas. I think that's the biggest key to victory right there.
Absolutely, and I think really kind of moving into our actual prediction. I think after an emotional game like the one we had on Monday with a long layoff once again, kind of basically the whole week off, I think you possibly could see a slow start in this game for us versus a really talented defense in West Virginia. But I think we just have too much talent on the offensive end, especially with the way that our defense has improved as well throughout the season. West Virginia is going to struggle to score the ball today as well. I think they are going to hit us with their slow pace. It's not going to be as high scoring as normal, but the Red Raiders just have too much talent on the offensive end, too much Christian Anderson. JT Toppin finds his post-game back as well. We hit some big threes. Give me the Red Raiders over West Virginia, 75-61, Jett.
Yeah, I like all of that. And I'm kind of hoping that this ends up being a game like we had when we traveled to Waco, a couple weeks ago, and we just run away with it. I think I'm going to go 85-69 Texas Tech here. Big win, headed back on the road to Arizona.
And that'll wrap things up here for the attorney, Stephen Hamilton, pre-game live show out here at GolfSuites. Once again, we just want to thank all of our sponsors with Roofmaster, Paint Doctor, JSI Services, and the Exceptional Community Hospital in Lubbock, and as well as all of our fans who continuously have been showing us support throughout this whole entire year, showing up to these events here at beautiful GolfSuites. And once again, we just want to thank GolfSuites as well for hosting all of our pre-game live shows. They have the best game day drink and food deals in town, as well as an exceptional golf range out here. So make sure to come out for a Texas Tech and then stay later on in the day for the, obviously, Super Bowl 60. It's going to be a huge game as well. And Jett, you got anything else for us?
No, man, wreck 'em.
Yeah, and as always, wreck 'em.